Hello, welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia. I'm your host, Jacob Brush, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Black, and we're back, and we're playing with Power. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a big world to get through. This is, what is this world, Brian?
Chocolate Island.
Chocolate Island, yes. Chocolate Island. There's 9 levels, so we are not going to waste any of your time. We are jumping right back into it like we never stopped. So, here we go. Take us away, Ryan.
Alright, we kick off with Chocolate Island 1. Right off from the bat, you are presented with a dinosaur enemy.
Oh, he's so huge, and he's different. Yeah. He kind of reminds me of like a Triceratops, like a baby.
Yeah, he kind of bumbles along, and if you jump on top of him, he becomes the smaller one. The smaller ones you got to be careful with because the smaller ones will breathe fire, either straight out in front of them or up above them.
And they're all pretty quick too, and they will follow you. They don't just go one way; they go back and forth.
So if you do the spin jump on top of the dinos, the big dinos, it'll take them out instantly. But if you jump on them regularly, then it'll just become the smaller one that breathes the fire. And they move a lot quicker, and they do home in on you, so they'll go back and forth. You can't eat them in their smaller state as Yoshi, but if they're bigger, you cannot. They're they just bumble along, the big ones, but then the smaller ones are a lot harder because they can jump around. They'll follow you. They'll breathe their fire. So you just gotta kind of dodge them and try not to, get taken out by them. And time your jumps on top of them so they don't squish you, or run over you, or toast you like bun in the oven. But so really, you come across the piranha plant. It may look a little bit different to Jacob because he's in my game right now watching, and we're doing the split screen sharing on the NSO. So my piranha plants have like a jack-o'-lantern looking face to them. But so you'll come across a yellow pipe with a green pipe at a slant in front of it. So this suggests if you go down it, it'll fire you out like a cannon, which yes, indeed it does. You fly right over a large dino's head, and then you come to a springboard and the goalpost, the halfway goalpost for the level.
It's tricky.
The next obstacle you come across.
That goalpost was definitely it's set up to be a risk in a way. Like you could easily miss it if you don't maneuver it right, but if you do get it, you could also land right in the pit below. So that was a little clever on their part.
Then you come across the P block, and you got those black, they're not really piranha plants, but they're black plants that like open and close their mouths repeatedly, that Yoshi can walk on, but you can jump on the P block, which will drop down a charge and chuck that springs up whenever it jumps straight up and claps his hands. And so like it'll give you a coin above Charge and Chuck to tempt you to go grab the coin, but then Charge and Chuck will jump up and clap at you, so you gotta be careful how you do that. If you have Yoshi, you can walk on the black plants. Oh, perfect. So you can just walk right underneath of the Charge and Chuck and ignore them completely. And then you've got a couple of slanted hills and dragon coin you can grab.
I have to admire why you play through this. I figured maybe since I'm not actually playing, I want to just admire just how beautiful this game. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm on an OLED, but I think it's definitely. It's what I always loved about Mario, and I think I said this at the start of this deep dive series. When I think of Mario, this is the game I think of 2D wise, and it's because I think this is the pinnacle 2D Mario game. I really do. Yeah. I think it's so beautiful. It's so cartoony looking. It's got all the mechanics from all the old games and so much more. And this has to be my favorite 2D Mario game. It really does. And that says a lot because I didn't have it as a kid. I only played it through Craven. But this is definitely the greatest 2D Mario game. I just love the atmosphere of it. And this level, if anybody has played this, everyone should know that this is It's beautiful. I mean, they should know what I'm talking about when they see it. Especially having Yoshi, it's he's just so much character added to it.
Yeah. Speaking of Yoshi, once you've cleared the general spot, when you shot out of the cannon and everything, and you'll come across a Yoshi point where you can get a Yoshi egg, and you're presented with some more pipes with some Piranha Plant enemies. If you have hit the blue block, the blue pass switch, you have a couple of places, blue and red. It'll give you some platforms across some pits, so you don't have to worry about falling through the pits. And you also, you'll find that one of the blue pipes that you have will actually go to a secret area, which will launch you out of a pipe once you get out of that secret area. So basically, this secret area that you get to, there's an extra life that starts, and then you see the usual purple pufferfish that swims around in the water. Then you have a bunch of like purple dolphins that are just kind of like swimming against the current, with the current, and you can use those. You can jump on top of them like platforms as they spring out of the water. That'll help you get across and away from those purple pufferfish. And once you've cleared that area, you go up through the pipe again. You get shot out of that cannon, or that pipe, if you will. And you actually ended up right on top of a springboard, and then the goalpost is right there at the end. So it's kind of a bang of a finish, getting shot out of a cannon right to the goalpost. It's kind of cool. But that clears up the Area 1.
Easy.
For the Chocolate Island.
How difficult do you think that level is?
I think it's pretty moderate. I think it's just right for a first intro to that area. It's still difficult. I feel like the forest was a little bit more difficult. The first area of the forest was more difficult. But overall, I'd say, yeah, you have some challenging platforming, and you are helped a lot just by filling in those power block areas. A couple of those pits you can just avoid. But yeah, I don't think it's too awfully difficult. The next area that we are coming to is Choco Ghost House.
Ooh.
So as usual, Mario will jump off his Yoshi and go into the ghost house doors. This one is interesting because the wooden floor has holes in it that move back and forth, and they throw a bunch of Eries at you as you're walking along. So you have to do some platforming to jump over the moving holes in the ground, plus the Eries that are coming in different wavelengths and different heights. You have to dodge them, and then you're presented with this Lakitu ghost thing with a flame on the end of the fishing rod instead of a 1-up or whatever. And so if you touch that, you die, or you get shrunken down. So you got to be really careful dodging Eries and doing some platforming work on different level platforms, while also trying not to jump too high and hit that flame. So you got to keep it pretty low. It won't touch you if you're just at floor's length, but if you jump up, it's probably going to clip you. So you got to be careful. Again, you've got those holes in the floor that are shifting back and forth. You have to dodge while this flame is hovering just ever over your head. So you have to be really precise with your platforming to make sure that you don't get hit by the flame. And also, the shifting floor, of course, happens to be right where the exit door is for this area. So you have to try to hit up with the exit door. And the next place you come into is just a long wooden run. You come across these boos that turn into stones if you look at them. So these stones you can actually stand on, so they become platforms. And if you lure them over along the way, you can use them as a platform to get to other areas. Which is kind of the big, that's how you exit this world and get out of this ghost house, is you have these ghosts turn into platforms, and you jump on those platforms and get up to the door. But I want to continue on before we go down the door to the exit and see the rest of the level. You're faced with boos that are long. They're kind of let's see. They're like the fireballs. They move along the trajectory that the fireballs do in the game, where they bounce along the ceilings and the walls and everything. But they also have a trail of booze behind them. If you decide to go a little bit further, you will end up with an extra life, and you have 3 more of those block boos that you can lure to get to the exit of the level.
It's not easy. I mean, there's this... You talk about the boo houses again. That was like I think that was an emphasis focus for this game. Every world has a boo house. I mean, this was not this. I think this makes up for the mini castles. Honestly, like this is how we talked about last week. I think in Mario Bros. 3, you have your mini castles that pop up in every world. This is what's common. Every world has a boo house, and some of them are difficult in like survival. Some of them are difficult in like trickery. And that one, I would say, was definitely more difficult in survival. That was throwing a lot of new elements at you that the boost had not done at that point.
Yeah, and there's a patience element for sure. Chocolate Island 2 is a bit of a special case. There's no other level in the game like it, and the path changes that you go on based on the time that you pass through, like, from one area to the next. So if you go really fast, you get the secret exit that takes you to a green pipe, and you can go into Bowser's land and see a secret level there, up on the cliff tops. But if you beat it at normal speed, you can go on to the next level. And then if you take a really slow amount of time, you get to see more of the level. Like, each time segment has a different level that it gives you, or different area it gives you. So it's a unique experience when you run through it, depending on how long you take.
That is very weird. We could have 2 different experiences, like you just said. Like,
100%. Wow. Yeah. So it starts out, it tells you right off the bat, the coins you collect or the time remaining can change your progress. Can you find the special goal? So if you opt to collect a bunch of coins, you can go one way. If you go through certain time, under a certain time gun, like time stamp, you can go to the secret. One of the exits just takes you back around the beginning. Like, you go around in a loop and end right back up at the level again. I'm sorry, that's a future level. Spoilers. So there's things in this level, like there's a lot of verticality. You have to go over, like, do some climbing on platforms to get above a divider, basically, for the stage. And you've got coin blocks, and you got springboards. It's just, you've got to get over that hill, and depends on how long it takes you to get over that is what you can do to progress. There is a Yoshi that's given to you at the top of that long cliff, and then you can drop down, again, avoiding all these dinosaurs that are walking around in the different hills and platforms. If you go through a certain point, you'll end up on these, like, slanted hills.
With Koopa Troopas with Mario heads, flying Koopa Troopas. That's what they look like to me.
Yeah, the Mario heads are actually from beating the secret world area. All the Koopas get the Mario heads. They get reskinned. So, are you good? You good? I'm not used to seeing it.
No.
I'm used to playing it that way.
I'm not. I like I said, I've only beat the base game, honestly.
Yeah.
I never did all the extra stuff as a kid. I beat this as an adult, actually. I never did the extra stuff, though.
Mm-hmm. So, one of the areas, once you get past that area with all the Koopa Troopas and the slanted hills over the cliffs, or over the bottomless pits, you end up to this place with, like, lots of water in between, like, platforms, and there's bubbles floating with a bunch of, like, regular mushrooms.
Yeah.
That you can pop and grab the mushrooms. There's no real point in grabbing all the mushrooms. They kind of slow your progress a little bit.
Again, it's probably there to affect the whole the time that you finish in.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to try to avoid the bubbles and move through as fast as you can. And the particular path that we took this time, it landed us in a place where you have to do a springboard over a long gap to get to the end of the episode, or the end of the level. But then once you get to the other side, you're hit with, like, a wall of those purple dragons that you jump on them once, they get faster, but they're scrunched down. And then, like, there's a couple of them falling up after them. So you got to be careful. You got to get to the top of the hill before all the enemies get you. And then you got to grab the flagpole at the very end. So
does the placement of the flagpole affect where you go as well, or is it just your timing and coins?
It's just the timing and coins. So I'm gonna... Cooper, stop! I'm gonna pop back into this level and run through it really fast so you can see what it looks like when you get to the other side really fast. Grab a Yoshi, and... I think I was fast enough there. So you get that usual Koopa Troopa slanted hill area. And if you do some fancy bouncing on turtles, you can get to this new area. Basically, you're met with a charging chuck that's throwing baseballs. If you take them out, you'll hit those platform blocks. You've got, the switch blocks. You've got the red, the yellow, and the blue. And there's also those blue eye blocks you can pick up and toss. But you run into another charging chuck that's throwing baseballs at you on top of a short yellow pipe, and you take them out. Oh, cool! I didn't realize he just. I think I knew that at one point in time, but he destroys the blue blocks, eyeball blocks. Yeah. But then you have another charging chuck you have to run up against. So you got like 3 lines of charging chuck. Keep in mind that the green question blocks do give you the feathers, so you can use that to power up. Charging chucks throw 5 baseballs.
Yeah.
So if you just wait it out and then move to jump on his head, it's a lot easier. But you can use these platforms to move and get closer to them that you got. And then there's kind of a secret key exit if you go the fastest route. And you go through the key door, and it takes you to that pipe that takes you to the secret area in Bowser's Valley.
Show the Bowser Valley real.
Yeah. I'll pop in there. You can get a preview of it. You can also see it in a Star World as well.
Yeah. There's a way. So can you go to technically to skip the end here and go to Bowser?
No, you can't get through there. This is Chocolate Secret that it takes you to, and then there's a pipe that'll take you to another area completely within the Chocolate Island world.
As a kid, I remember being on top of that mountain when Traven and we did it. I remember Traven taking that route. So and that was the first I get to see it, and it's such a tease. Like, you see Bowser floating in the background, and you want to go there, you know.
So this next level has that loop that I was talking about earlier. If you beat it normally, you end up going in a circle, and you end right back up at your level that you were at. So you have to find the correct exit to get onto the next area. But this is Chocolate Island 3. Okay. This is a mushroom treetop type level with those platforms that rotate around, stone platforms that rotate around a central block. And you've got like a mountain-looking background in the back. I guess it kind of fits the whole like chocolate mountain thing. And when you have the secret endings, or when you do the secret world, you get to the alternate palette, and you do get access to a lot more like blue shell Koopas. So you can fly a lot through this level, but a lot of platforming across pits with those swinging pendulum-like platforms on the green and white spotted mushroom cliff tops, or I guess they're trees. I always called them trees, but mushroom trees. You're just doing a lot of platforming, and you have to try to... each of those platforms have a Koopa Troopa standing, walking back and forth on them. You come across a blue pipe, you can go through it, and you get to this place where there's like a ton of coins with one of those pendulum platforms. It's wooden, and if you just stand there, you can just collect a bunch of coins through the whole thing. Again, it takes away some of your time, so watch your time, make sure you don't run out of time really fast, and you also have a chance to get a dragon coin. If you drop down below, you are above the clouds. You have kind of like a cloud-hilled platform at the bottom. So you're not going to fall into like a bottomless pit or anything. But then you can go down a green pipe to get back to the main part of the level. I will note that you are taking quite a bit further away from... If you go down that pipe, you're taking further away from where you went down that pipe initially. You'll run into a couple more Koopa Troopas. Just a lot more platforming. Not a whole lot notable, although you will see a Fuzzy be introduced there. Which you can... If you have Yoshi, you can jump on top of them, bounce on them. You can eat them, of course, but that's really the only way to take them out. And then you come across some more Fuzzies consistently. Instead of the Koopa Troopas walking back and forth, you got Fuzzies you got to contend with. There's a place where you can get a mushroom. The platform is really tricky here. If you don't have a feather to like float down or something, like it's going to be really hard.
You're just constantly spinning, and you're trying to avoid the Fuzzies, and yet at the same time...
Yeah, they give you a question mark block, and if you decide to ignore the question mark block, you can jump on that question mark block and then jump over to the next platform and make an easier platform moment for you. And then the very next platform you come to, if you have the green switch, clicked, then you can grab the green... grab the cape from there, and then once you've gotten across that gap, you get a mushroom, one-up mushroom, and you have the option to hit a piranha plant that becomes a vine, and you're presented with a shell and a Koopa Troopa, a Koopa Troopa with a shell on. It's blue in the... after you've beaten the secret area, it's a blue shell. You can use that as Yoshi to get above... Basically, what you want to do is you want to fly underneath the goalpost, the first goalpost you come to, because that's the one that's going to take you around in a circle. And you're going to want to fly up underneath of it to the next area. You get 3 extra lives, and you hit the goalpost that's beyond it. And you have to do some of your feather, bouncing to get across the gap, so you don't, fall into the pit and die. But then you hit the goalpost, and then you can go on to the next level, which is a chocolate fortress. It's another one of those mini castles, Jacob.
That I keep mentioning.
So it seems like the longer the level, the more likely it is you're going to get a castle, like a mini castle, the longer the world is. Tell us a little bit about this world.
This castle, it feels... you can... I don't know. It feels definitely different than a main castle. It's just what it should feel like. It's not as grand. Even walking in, you can tell the aesthetic is different. And then you, as we're got a lot of... It looks like pencils, sharp wooden edges coming up and down out of the ground while you maneuver through tar holes, and we got dry bones, and they're everywhere. This feels again pretty traditional. Again, very similar to a Mario 3
complete
castle.
With the fire.
And then we got with the fire that you see in the when you got close to Bowser in the OG game, which also was a thing in Mario Land. If you remember Mario Land, the lion would be shooting fire at you as you got closer to him. Oh, Mario Land, we need to cover those games.
Yeah.
At least I think we already did 2 a long time ago, but
that would be a pretty simple deep dive too.
It would be. These are... the course itself isn't too extreme. It's just throwing a lot at you. And if you're careful, at this point in the game, your skill level, I would say, should be pretty good to handle this. As you progress through, though, there's, we got our thwomps, our square-looking thwomps that are... You just got to be patient as they stab down into the spike and you maneuver.
Notably, you have to drop into the spike pit, but move over so that you don't land in the spike pit while there's a thwomp crushing down on top of the spike. So you have a limited window you can move and try to get to that next area. Yeah. If you're not careful, you're going to end up on the spikes as you're dropping.
Because you have to let him. You have to let him drop and rise, and then you got to fall down fast while he's coming after you, basically. And then get over it.
The next area is just a gauntlet of thwomps and
baby
thwimps.
thwomp. Baby thwomp. That's what I call them.
Thwimps and thwomps. They give you a couple ones that are really close to the ground, so you gotta be really careful there. You do get a chance to get a mushroom or a feather depending on your status as a healthy Mario. Then you have there's a lot of like thwimps, but also like maneuvering around thwomps and triggering them. This is where having the red switch is really helpful. It keeps one of the thwimps like underneath of them and traps it. Then you have another thwomp you jump over a spike pit, and then you run into two thwimps that are jumping like side by side. So you gotta be a little careful on their jump pattern. But then there's like two more as well. Yeah. So you gotta be expecting two in a row, and it's a little bit tricky if you're not careful. It's definitely something that'll probably take you out the first time you do it. Then you have like pit, and then you have to jump and like distract the thwomp, and then jump back, and then when he slams down, then you can jump across the spike in the center, and then jump over the next set of spikes. And then you're presented with like a series of 3 spikes on either side with a thwomp. But thankfully, if you've hit the blue switch, those blocks will be filled out, and it'll keep that thwomp under confinement, so you don't have to worry about having to actually go in and take that really tricky jump. Like, I don't know how you can do it without a feather, like to float down carefully and stuff. Like, it's so hard.
It's not easy.
It's definitely like it's one of the more challenging castles in the game. Not the mini castles. Definitely not the hardest mini castle, but it's definitely up there.
I mean, it's certainly harder than anything in Mario 3, at least from early levels on. This level, I mean, there's a reason this is saved for this world. I mean, we hadn't really seen these at all. Besides, I mean, you had the option in Force of Illusion, but you didn't have to do it. This was the first time where we have to go through one. And I would argue this is more difficult than even some of the big castles we've been through.
I could definitely see that.
This is requiring a lot better skill and platforming to get through. I mean, it's not. I feel like those giant castles, honestly, they're more for show. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some that are difficult, but there is more showy as like this giant grand castle with death traps of lava, and I don't feel like that necessarily makes it difficult to get through.
So the next obstacle we come to after the 3 spike pit on either side of the thwomp platform is a thwomp platform with 2 spikes on either side. If you have the red switch, it keeps the thwomp out of the picture, but you still have a thwimp you have to deal with. It's bouncing back and forth between the spikes. And then if you hit the green switch already, there is a place to get a cape right before you go to the end. And the doors here that you go through are actually not the traditional red doors. They're actually the brown chocolate doors, which I thought was kind of appropriate for this chocolate island area. And you have to take down the usual Reznor.
At this point, Ryan, we have not come across Reznor. So explain Reznor. I mean, he's pretty simple if you know what to do, but I mean, he is Triceratops. There's 4 of them. And they're
on a rotating platform of planks, like just attached togetger.
With lava.
We know his name is Reznor because it says Reznor on it. It's actually a tribute to Trent Reznor, the musician, which is kind of a cool nod.
It fits into all of the Koopalings because this is the first game they were in, and they were all named after rock stars. But I mean, the floor just disappears, and it forces you to jump on the platforms with Reznor, all the Triceratops. But again, if you've done it, and you know maybe the first time you got to it you died, so you learned from your mistakes. You can kill about 3 of them honestly before the floor even totally disappears. And they're shooting fireballs at you, so you do have to be careful with that. But
yeah, you do have to jump underneath of them to knock them off their platform so you can get on their platform before the floor disappears.
You can't jump on them, right?
No, you can't jump on them.
Gotta hit them from underneath. Perfect. And then, then after that, the castle crumbles and we move on. Chocolate Island 4, man, like we said at the top of this world is packed with lots of levels. And just, I think it's ramped up in difficulty and uniqueness.
It definitely gives you that hint of what this level is going to be like, because it has the rocky around the level dot. It's definitely going to be underground. You come across these like slanted, I don't know, like clods of dirt with like moss growing on them that move back and forth really slowly, and it's above a pit of boiling tar, and so you can go on these little like slanted platforms moving at different angles to traverse kind of like this is very, very much feels like a maze in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's a lot of patience and shifting platforms that are at a weird angle. If you duck on them, you don't slide down them, thank goodness. But you're pretty much stuck fast to them, so that's helpful through the whole platforming part of things. You've got your dragon coins like if you go the extra way to go, you can get your dragon coins. But a lot of like just jumping across platforms and trying not to land in the boiling pit of tar below you. A lot of those shifting platforms going different directions, so you have different verticalities. You have to jump as they're moving back and forth. It's a little different than just flat moving platforms. It gives it an extra bit of a challenge. Definitely more visual than anything. Because you do have to jump at different heights based on where they are and their trajectory along their set paths. In fact, there's some that you can go on that get you to a dead end, so you have to try to figure out your way around those. Yeah, and the way to get out of it, you have to jump on this stone platform that falls down and into the boiling tar really fast. So you have to kind of go all the way down after getting across this pit. And then you get like this zigzag pattern in the cave to go over. They do tease you if you have the switches pressed. There is an area down below that you can get some like extra lives and things, I believe. But you have to be patient. There is like if you hit all of them, you get I think 3 extra lives, and then you can also there's a yellow block down there you can hit to get a mushroom if you wanted it. But it's a tough area. To try to go for if you don't have the blue switch, because that's basically your platform that gets you over the boiling stuff. Apparently there's a place that you can get a POW block. I think you have to hit the 3rd block from the... So you've got... What's this? Diagonal... group of the yellow eyeball blocks, and the 3rd one that you hit will turn into a POW block, and that'll give you access to a Yoshi coin or a dragon coin, and then also a secret tunnel that's a gray pipe you can go down. And you're presented with another POW switch and an arrow shape formation of the yellow eyeball blocks. As soon as you hit the POW switch, it's going to drop you into the pit below.
But it doesn't break the block like you think.
No, it doesn't. And so if you keep falling, you go through just different levels of coins until the POW block runs out, and that's the level you have to choose to run outside of the level. And they block you. It's very hard to describe, but it's like you can get different power-ups depending on where you've gone up, and if you have the cape, you can actually fly up and get to those past areas that you had been to, that you had fallen through, to see if you wanted to grab another power-up or something like that. Like one of them has like a fire flower, one of them has the cape feather, and each one will take you to the same exit. But one has like 5 1-ups if you get the very first one. Which is nice. So if you fall down far enough, you can fly back up again and get to those other areas. But yeah, you get a nice 5-up reward if you do fly back up there.
Whoa.
And then you're faced with these new enemies. Well, I guess they're not new, but
they're massive.
Monty moles that are gigantic. They look like they have sunglasses on.
Yeah, they are unexpected. I don't think we've come across a giant one like this, have we?
Not in the main game. I don't know if they're in any secret area already or not, but I think that's the first time we come across them in the main game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember talking about them before. If we did, it's possible. But they were they can be used as platforms. Like if they run into you, they hurt, but you can stand on top of them and ride them. Unlike their Monty Mole cousins or their little brothers, you can definitely just go and like hop on them and just let them take you wherever. They'll walk you to wherever you want to go. Let's see here. I had to do some backtracking because I ran out of time for that level. So, and I did want to note, like, there's very little gap when you go down that gray pipe, and when you come across the moles, it puts you right out close to that area. So, you're presented with a lot of these moles that drop down. You can get rid of them with your cape. Yoshi cannot eat them, I want to say. I think they're too big for Yoshi to eat. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's of significance there. There is a chance to get a fire flower if you want it. Or you can just jump across the boiling tar pit, and you get the end post sign with the pink arrow on it. You're presented with yet another short pipe. This one's green, and you've got a charging chuck that jumps up and tries to block you from getting to the goalpost. So I'll quickly flip that away and then jump to the goalpost to finish that level out.
Easy.
It's a really pretty cave scene, but it's really cool to run across those Monty moles. I cannot think of what they're called. I don't think it's Monty Mole though. It's like Big Mole or something like that. But
this world is very difficult, right? It's much harder. It's grander. It's longer. You have different routes. I mean, there is not. I definitely feel like this deserves to be towards the end of the game.
Yeah, it definitely ups the difficulty.
So where are we now?
So this next Choco Island level is it's weird. You're like, you got a lot of blocks, like squares formations of like the brown blocks that look like squinty eyes, and each of them have spinies walking back and forth in them, and you're given one that's just like eyeball squares, and then if you hit the eyeball square at the top middle, you get a Yoshi egg. But then you're presented with a power block that you can step on and jump on, and you can go up against. You can release basically all of these spinies, and you can get to secret areas and things. But because you release the spinies, you have a lot more enemies. So you can do just simple platforming through the level, run through the level really fast, and just go to the end. But you miss all the good stuff basically.
They wanted to do that to you, though.
Yeah. Well, this is a new area I haven't seen before. Oops.
You lost
so, for once, they actually give you a place where you have the bubbles, and you have the fish that flop around are useless, but if you pop the bubbles over the pits where the water is, they'll actually jump in the water and become a threat. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of neat. And then, of course, you hit the bubbles that'll knock you into the water if you're trying to jump over it. So you have to actually kind of have some... Be careful when you hit the bubbles so you don't put cheeps in the water that can hurt you. It's kind of a cool little bonus area by going down a pipe. This is an interesting area because it's like water, and there's like parachuting Galoombas and bomb-ombs that go into the water. It's just a quirky level. But again, a lot of it you can just skip by not having... but not hitting the P block, but you also miss out on some secrets here or there if you don't hit that. Mm-hmm. So there is a pipe that you can unlock if you hit the P block. It's a yellow pipe, and if you go down it and towards the beginning of the level, you get one of those bonus areas where you hit the question blocks, and you'll get an extra life if you hit them in the right order. It's randomized every time; it's never the same. So don't think like you're doing something wrong. It's just, you never know what you're going to get. And that will kick you out basically at the same point that you would if you went down the second pipe with all the fish and the bubbles. And then you're presented with this gauntlet of shifting pipes that shift up and down. The green pipes like go up and down, up and down. You'll come across an orange pipe. None of them you can really like go down. But then you get those slightly like mustard yellow, like what color would you call it? Like goldenrod maybe? Goldenrod colored eye blocks that expand left and right, and then up and down. And so you have to kind of like an inchworm, but up and down, more vertical and horizontal. You've got 3 of those platforms. You've got some more platforming you have to do on pipes. And then, of course, they have to throw a charge and chuck right at you on the yellow pipe. This one's a taller one, so it's a bit of a challenge. So, get towards the end of the level, you're probably going to see a charge and chuck. That seemed to be a theme for this game, was they would throw in the charge and chuck when you got to the end. And it seemed like that was always a thing that you had to dread in this game. So... once you use the fancy footwork on the platforming, you gotta hit that charge and chuck, who springs up and claps, tries to attack you, and then if you just walk right past him, you get that usual you get that sign with the pink arrow, the white picket sign with the pink arrow, and you've got 3 charge and chucks you have to contend with, that all are jumpers. They jump up and clap. So you can jump on them one at a time, and hit that goalpost before they actually pose any threat to you. Unless you want to take the time to take out all 3, which will take some considerable time. Definitely watch your time on that level, because there are some options that will distract you and take extra time. You could easily lose your progress because you died from time run out. And then the final area, I should say the second to last area. There's actually another area after the castle, which is unusual, but we get to go into Wendy's castle. Wendy's castle is pretty cool. It is definitely a difficult one. First thing, you're in a narrow hallway, stone hallway with the usual casual dungeon look, and then you've got the dry bones throwing bones at you right at the beginning. And then you have these giant spike pillars that come down and crush, and you have to jump on these springboards to get over the cliff that you're up against while this spike is coming down, like this stone spike comes down to bear on you. And then you're at this area where you can't just jump across the pit willy-nilly because there's just like golden spikes there. And Wendy's castle is not to be trifled with. You've got saw blades running along tracks that you have to jump over. And if you're not careful, like they'll start coming at you from the other end too. And if you don't have the red switch, you have one little bitty platform you can jump on with fire over a fiery lava pit, with lava bouncing back and forth, jumping up on either side. If you don't have the extra bit of platform, you have one single space to jump on and get across this pit and survive. This is a really hard level, even with the bonuses of having the switches pressed for the different blocks. You have the pillar spikes that drop down from the ceiling, and then you also have saw blades running on tracks that you have to dodge, and you kind of manage the timing on both of those. It's so hard.
It is hard, especially when you're trapped between all these pillars stabbing the ground, and then just near a saw blade track, so you have to jump over the saw blades while staying in between the spiked pillars as they crush down to the ground. I mean, there's 2 saw blades going opposite directions, so you have to dodge those too. It's not easy at all. No, they don't. You know what, Mario Wonder, this is harder than probably the majority of Mario Wonder's levels. I mean, this is not. Yeah. This was definitely designed for some skill.
Definitely. If you hit the yellow block, you do have an option to get a mushroom, but then you come to this place where the spikes are going really fast.
Pillars, yeah.
Up the pillars, the spiked pillars go up and down really fast, and both directions, from the ceiling and from the floor, and you have to time it and run underneath and jump, and oh my goodness. You could run straight through if you have the red block that helps you, but you still have to stop just short before one of the crushing pillars hits you after. So you got 3 that you have to run through, coming at different intervals. It's just really, really difficult to run under and get around. And then that is the halfway point. So
oh my gosh.
That's pretty much a whole level in all of itself right there, a whole difficult area. And the next area you come across Sparky, Little Sparky, and Big Sparky.
He moves way slow.
Yeah, the big spark moves really, really, really slow. And then the little sparks move a lot faster. But then you have the usual platforming mechanic of like the crushing walls going up and down slowly, and you have to be patient to jump across the pits. But also you have Sparkies that move faster on some blocks and Sparkies that move slow around other blocks that you have to jump over each time while you're waiting for these ceiling blockades to move so you can jump onto the next platform. Then you've got painful. Sparkies to deal with. And you also have a timer to worry about.
It's painful to watch. I mean, they really designed it. The wall moves very slow. When you jump, the big shinies are ultra slow. So you gotta, but they're huge. They take up so much space.
Yeah.
And then the quick ones are just moving so fast. You gotta continuously jump over them while the slow wall moves up and down. I mean, this is, again, it's a combination of skill but patience as well too. This castle's really kind of thrown so much at us that is by far, I don't know, you need to think in terms of like, you know, if you're playing this game and you're a kid or whatever, you've probably played this through and through and your skill level is definitely high. So like, you know, to be fair and honest, Ryan and I are not like playing Mario World every day like we would be as a kid trying to chuck through this. So, you know, we're playing this as we come across it and with save states and whatnot with today's technology. So it is, in a way, I mean, you know, obviously we're able to get through, but it is, I think, way more complicated for us because we're not every day playing Mario World and getting our skills sharper. Whereas this design of the game is supposed to be happening with that at that time right there. It's supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to do this, basically.
Yeah. The final gauntlet, the final, like, area, or I guess obstacle that you come to in the Sparky area is you have, you've got a dry bones throwing bones at you, and then you have, like, these regular interval squares with Sparkies moving around them. The top one has a fast-moving Sparky, the middle one has a slow-moving Sparky, and then the bottom one has the fast-moving Sparky. And you got to kind of time your jumps across the pit onto one of those 4 blocks and then jump across before the Sparky comes around and clips you. If you have the green block pressed, you get a cape at the end, and then you're right at the doors for the boss. Wendy O. This boss fight is familiar, but you're presented with 2... It's the one over the pit of lava with the pipes, the orange pipes, but you're presented with 2 fireballs you have to dodge while she pops up out of these areas with 2 dummies that pop up in the other area. So you have to get... Basically, it's a whack-a-mole. Try to hit the right mole that pops up while these 2 fireballs are bouncing back and forth, and... yeah, once you've hit her 3 times, she'll drop into the lava, and you'll clear the level. And you've got that nice cinematic at the end of the level. You rescue the yellow Yoshi egg this time. And Mario pulls out a mop, I guess, like a window wiping mop, and just wipes the castle away. It's so silly.
Flag.
It's so silly. And then you want to go ahead and read the end tag?
Wendy O. Koopa and Castle number 6 has sung her last song. Mario must meet the challenge that is now before him. There is a sunken ship that appears to be a gateway to the Valley of Bowser.
So we didn't really take much time talking about the looks of the Koopa Troopa, or the Koopa Kids. I think we take it for granted that this was our first game, and so like this was the first like girl of the group, and she has a bow in her hair and hair. I don't know. She's got a bow in her head anyway. So that isn't actually the last level of this world.
Which is so weird.
One more level. You go into the water and the fish jumps up, and then you're in front of this rocky ring. Everything around it has waves except for the center of the ring. There's a sunken ship there. And then there's just calm waters right in the middle. So this one is called the Sunken Ghost Ship. And this level is a heart attack and a half. You have to be patient, but also you have a timer. So if you're going in small, you might have an advantage, I would say. in a lot of ways. First starts out. You have
it's the opposite of a flying ship.
You have bullet bills to fight underwater. You're basically on an underwater ghost ship, and you have bullet bills you have to dodge. If you've cleared the special area, they become Pidgeot bills. Which Pidgeot is actually a nod to Mario Brothers 2. So that's kind of a cool nod. And then you go down a pipe. And you are now in an underwater area. It's like you're inside the ship. You have some Eries that are kind of translucent flying at you. You've got some like cobwebs here or there. It's kind of a nice little touch. But then all of a sudden, like, boos pop up out of nowhere. Just phase into reality. And they keep phasing in at different intervals. And so, like, you could be in the wrong place where a boo pops up if you're not careful. So you gotta swim along, like, a maze of boos as they pop in. And then they pop away and they become a new maze that you have to navigate as you try to swim through all of this mess. It's a heart attack. And then, of course, you have some Eries that are thrown in the mix, too. So, luckily, you're not, like, having to battle against the boos appearing out of nowhere here and there, but then they also throw in like regular boos and the boo rings you have to swing through. So you just got to be really, really patient, but keep moving so you don't run out of time, because you got to do the boo ring, swimming in water over spikes to get over these blocks of crates, basically, while keeping these other boo at bay by looking at them. And then you have another ring that you come across, and you have to drop down into the pit to go through a blue pipe to exit that area. It's tricky. And then you're dropped in this place with just like extra lives, or like, I'm sorry, you get a star, a superstar, and you're just falling, endlessly falling, with all of these Koopa Troopas falling with you, and spike balls, and they can go through a bunch of coins. You're just basically endlessly falling into this pit. And you get like a bunch of spike balls that just kind of fall, and so you end up in water where these spike balls land, and then they start floating around. And then you get this like question block. It's another reminiscent question. It's not a block, it's like a sphere. A question like ball, if you will. It's green with a question mark, and it sparkles. And a platform in the center above the water that you fall into from that pit. You jump on top of it, and that clears the course. Very strange way to end the level. But yeah, you fall into that bottomless pit, or it's not really bottomless, but you fall into that water, and then you hit that, and it clears the level. And that orb is what resurrects the Bowser's area. Like a big stone Bowser cave pops up out of the water, and it takes you right into the Valley of Bowser.
Man. It's definitely ramped up in intensity. It's much different. It's hard, and you can clearly see that, which is rightfully so. I mean, you don't want the ending to be easy. Whereas, I mean, to be honest, Ryan, today they don't make them like they used to. And I know that sounds weird, but like, you know, I don't know if you've played it, but I mean, I just, you know, I kind of played it with my wife casually of Mario Wonder, and it's nothing like what we just experienced. Nothing at all. Maybe, you know, here and there's some things, but in general, you didn't see anything like this, especially even when you got to Bowser's World. Yeah, there's some cool like environments, but it's not the difficult. It was the trend for the 90s, 80s, and 90s. Like the deeper you go, the harder this gets, and yeah, you know, so obviously we're not going to do Bowser's World today. We crammed a massive world in less than an hour. I mean, we really were going on this. But Ryan, do you have any final thoughts, and where can people find us?
Yeah, the Choco Island is one of my favorites just because of the unique things that it throws your way, but it's also one of the most frustrating. The Valley of Bowser being probably one of the more difficult areas, discounted. But Chocolate Island, I like the theme first. Like, it's one place that I'm sad that I have to see if you beat the special area, because it does a palette swap and it all becomes green. It doesn't look chocolate, whereas when you first get there in the regular way, it's all brown and like chocolate colored, which I thought was really neat. But you get those dinosaurs that you run into, the greenish blue dinosaurs that breathe the fire, and you've got a lot of really tricky, like, platforming mechanics, but also, like, you've got the time and the coin mechanics. Like, they threw that in one level, like, randomly. And, it's just, like, you've got 2 ghost levels, essentially, in this world. You've got the mini castle, you've got Wendy's castle, and then you've got, like, there's just such variety. And you've got above the treetops levels, and I think they threw all of the creativity into this area really and melded together really well. To make it a really challenging 7th area. It definitely gives me that feel like the 7th area in Mario Brothers 3, which is dumb, like with all the bouncing plants and stuff, and yeah, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the difficulty of that area in Mario Brothers 3, and like it's definitely difficult. They throw a lot at you, a lot of different ways, and they put a lot of effort into that area, and the aesthetic and everything was really, really fulfilling. So I enjoyed every bit of it. So I guess that does bring us to the end of the episode. Jacob, did you have any final thoughts?
No, I mean, you already said it all. I've said what I needed to say. It's go time. I mean, we're at Bowser now, and I'm excited to. Obviously we're going to cover all the secrets as well too, but I'm excited to bring this game to a close. And anybody who's played this game before, especially way back in their nostalgic past, like, I'm sure that the images of where we are right now is popping up. So keep hanging on for the ride, and we'll finish this out strong in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. If you want to continue to listen to us on different platforms, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Pandora Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, at X, Twitter, at Nintendo_NOS. And then you can also find Instagram at Nintendonostalgiain. You can find us on Gmail, Nintendonostalgiain at gmail.com. You can also give us a call on our hotline, share your memories, and show us some love at 317-969-5690. I did omit Google Podcasts in there. Google Podcasts is becoming defunct. They're moving all of their podcasting over to YouTube Music. So you can find us over on YouTube Music. Be sure to export your RSS feed, or export your list of podcasts from Google Podcasts to the new platform, YouTube or wherever you need to go to listen to your podcast. But Google Podcasts will become defunct here in the next couple weeks. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up about that. I know some people listen to us only on Google Podcasts, so I hope that you're able to find a good platform to go and listen to us on, like, your Android phone or what have you. I'm sure that YouTube Music will be a good platform for that, but we'll make sure that everything's hooked up over there, and you can continue listening on that platform. So, yeah. I think that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Later, Preston.
See you then. Bye.